There we go. All right. It's 9:30 a.m. I will call us to order. Good morning. I am Arlisha Wilson, Chair for today's meeting on this Monday, May 12th, 2025. We will get started with a reading of the preamble, and I'll turn to Madam Secretary for that.
Good morning. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'm going to read the preamble for you this morning, this Monday, May 12th. In compliance with notification requirements of the city's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Please note that call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. All requests to speak on a particular matter have been considered. We've also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Back to you, Madam Chair. Sure. Ms. Holzer?
Present.
Ms. Roca?
Present.
Ms. Faith?
Present.
Mr. Madison is not present yet. And Ms. Wilson?
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum with 4 members at this time. Should probably state for the appellants that when there is a number 4 present, we run the risk of a tied vote. In the case of a tied vote, the variance is denied. So at this time, the appellant can request a postponement. We have not been made aware that Mr. Madison would not be present, so he may be just running behind a little bit. So just full disclosure, the applicants can request a postponement if they're concerned about a tied vote and a possible denial. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone who would want to request a postponement based on that? All right. Hearing none, we will move forward. Any postponements and withdrawals otherwise?
No, Madam Chair, there are none.
Okay. Looks like Marcus just joined us. Marcus, is that you?
Yes, this is Marcus. Thank you.
Perfect. So
Thank
we
you.
actually have a full 5-member board, so we should be good. No other postponements, then I will go ahead and call the first case. That is calendar number 25-071. Do we have an appellant from CLE and other properties here? All right, you want to move forward, and while you do that, I have a.
Sorry, excuse me, Madam Chair, I just noticed your mic is still muted.
The whole time. Thank you, thank you.
Sorry.
Our first case is calendar number 25-071. This is at 1101 parenthetically 11105 Lorraine Avenue. Cleo Ohio Properties LLC owner proposes to demolish an existing 1-story building and construct a 1,596 square foot building to accommodate a 4-bay auto repair shop adjacent to an existing car repair and auto sales shop in a local retail business district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 4. And with that, I will hand over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? Please state your name, spell your name, and give your address.
Yes, I do. My name is Khalil Ewais. You said spell the name?
Yes, please.
KHALILEWAIS, Pioneer Engineering, address 3490 West 46, Cleveland, 44102.
Thank you. Sir?
Chad Dasher, DASHER, Associate Director, Westtown Community Development Corporation, 9926 Lorraine Avenue.
You.
David Rogers, Executive Assistant to Councilman Danny Kelly, 601 Lakeside.
Do you swear?
I do.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the call for this case? Seeing none, back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. Roca. Can we go ahead with history of the property, please, Madam Chair? Or sorry, Madam Secretary.
I'll take the promotion.
Yes, gladly.
Thank you. This was originally zoned general retail in 1929, and then in 1986, it was changed to local retail business. In our records administration office, we found that in 1925, a permit was issued to erect a gas station and also a tire shop, a one-story tire shop. But then, Madam Chair, records indicate that in 1987, a permit was issued to demolish a 20 by 30 masonry garage, but then erect a 15 by 20 one-story frame office for auto sales. There are no variances on file. And I would just note that in 2013, there was a violation issued to the property for exterior maintenance. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Legal, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance and area variances from the fencing and minimum distance requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you for that. I will now turn to the project team. Do you want to start? Tell us about
Yes.
the project.
Yes, our project's on the southwest corner of West 111th and Lorraine. Existing use is a car dealership and a mechanic shop. The business dynamics have changed with regards to this particular owner, and they wish to reduce the car sales amounts and continue the car sales, but also focus on the repair aspect of the business. As such, they want to construct a 3-bay garage. It was initially 4-bay, but to comply with our previous zoning reviews, we've reduced the amount of bays to 3, so that we have a total of 4 bays. There is one existing bay, and it has low clearances. Really, you can't lift the car and work on it properly. The new garage would give us that flexibility to be able to work on vehicles from the bottom and have additional capacity for servicing vehicles. The project would add, I believe, 14 customer parking spaces. So the west end of the parking lot would be basically customer parking, and the east end would be a car display area. Project also includes landscaping. You can keep it on the screen here if you can. This is basically the site plan, landscaping, all in one plan. Can I go up to the board?
Please.
Yeah. This is the existing building. New building would basically take the footprint or the width of the existing building, which is 25 feet, and extend it 63 feet out to the east. This is our dedicated customer parking spots, 14 spots, one drive entrance in and out. We have landscaping on Lorraine, as well as a 4-foot landscape island on West 111th Street. In addition, we have a board-on-board fence on the west end of the property and on the south end, the rear property line. This ornamental fence would be on West 111th Street and on Lorraine Avenue. So that kind of is our project in a nutshell. You go to the elevation sheet. This is the existing building here. We're proposing a new awning. We presented this project to design review. and Landmarks Commission. We've received approval from and a certificate of appropriateness to demolish the existing. It's not really a big building. It's about a 400 square foot low-lying office space. It's not really used by the owner. So we would extend the building to the east, higher elevations, like we previously mentioned, 3 bay doors. One of the comments we received from design review was to add more glazing to the bay doors, which we've complied with. This would be the elevation on the rear side, south side. It would be split face CMU block, colored block, brownish color. This would be West 111th side. Yes, on that side as well. We'd have a decorative molding at the top of the building, as well as a sandstone feature. The front face of the building would basically mimic the color of the existing building. In addition to the existing building would be sand washed to bring out the original color as much as practical. That's basically our project in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you for the very detailed descriptions. Just a couple of questions. If you do not get the variance today to operate as a vehicle sales and repair shop, what hardship would someone from CLE Ohio Properties have?
They probably wouldn't continue to be in business. Their car sales are not high as they used to be. And they're more oriented to repairs than sales. They don't have the manpower to go out and search for vehicles, bring in vehicles. And they don't have the funds to continue to do that, truthfully. So they want to focus more on car sales.
There's speakers on this one?
Uh-oh.
And that's the owner here, actually.
Oh, okay.
Sam.
Hey, Sam, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to speak today?
Not really. Khalid could speak for me.
Okay, yes, he can. I just wanted to give you the opportunity in case you wanted it. Can you please place your audio on mute for us?
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions from the board?
So with this new intended use, will the owner have cars in various states of repair parked in the parking lot?
Intent is to roll out vehicles on a daily basis.
Mhm.
So the intent is not to have vehicles stay overnight unless it's a long-term repair, say like an engine replacement or something like that. But I think the intent of the owner is vehicles in that day, out that day.
Thank you.
You know,
All right, any other questions from the board? All right, are you done with your comments?
yes, I am.
Okay, I will now turn to both of you. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
Chad Dasher, Associate Director, Westtown Community Development Corporation. Madam Chair, I have some photos I'd like to.
Okay.
The pictures that were taken on 5/12 here must have been on the most ideal day, the only time I've ever seen this lot without cars parked on the sidewalk, up and down the streets. We've talked to them over and over. There is zero regard of where these cars are parked. I think by giving them 3 bays is going to increase the amount of cars there. And on those photos there, they're date time stamped on my phone, starting in August. There's some in December, there's some in April. This is an ongoing problem, and this is right next to a residential district. Building inspectors have talked to them. We've talked to them. It doesn't seem like they care. They're consistently parked up and down the streets. And if they don't have time to go out and find cars, there's always a plethora of unlicensed vehicles parked up and down the street that belong to this business. Anything against people making a living, but people have to live here. People can't even navigate that corner most of the time because it is completely covered in cars.
Can I?
They have one bay, they have one bay now. You had three more bays and how many cars are gonna be there? Madam Chair, I just request that if a variance is granted, that there is some revocation clause put in there. That if this type of work continues, that this variance could be clawed back. If that's possible, that's what we would request. But, for the community, we don't support this. I don't see it getting better. Property rights, you got plenty of business. I don't see what adding more bays is going to do. There's tons of cars there. I don't know where they're going or, what's happening with them, but there's always unlicensed vehicles up and down the street, on the sidewalks, taking up the public right away. Thank you.
Let me give the appellant a chance to review this, please. Okay, I'll give you an opportunity to respond. I'll go to you next.
Okay, Dave Rogers, Executive Assistant to Councilman Danny Kelly. Here we go again with another automotive usage in Ward 11. I was riding my bike all around this area yesterday. It's like, it's just turned into just a giant junk car lot and repair place. The complaints on this are endless. I would state this just right at the beginning of this. We probably need to have some kind of community outreach here. I wasn't even aware that city planning would have signed off on this on automotive usage. That's baffling to me. I guess they did, but that being said, there's apartments right across the street there, and they constantly complain about the parking situation here. There's cars parked up and down the street. The first district commander is sick and tired of our office calling him to get these cars. I've spoken with the owner a couple times specifically and said, you got to stop. Cleveland police can't be bogged down by constantly trying to figure out who owns these vehicles parked up and down streets. And I do personally believe that all these owners that try and reestablish usage or change their usage with automotive stuff, they know that they're playing a game in Cleveland where they can park cars up and down the street. One of the questions that's glaring to me right now is, so this is a pretty substantial build. Where do all the cars go? Because what we're not seeing here is the picture that car right now is packed to the gills. That lot is packed with cars. So where do they all go during this really extensive build? I would be really concerned about that. The screening, I mean, the houses literally start right to the south of it. We haven't even specified what kind of repairs. I mean, these things start out with brake jobs and they end up with transmission work and painting. We have so many of these in our ward right now that are in violation. They're either coming to zoning, that are either going into court because they start out with, oh, we're just going to do brake jobs and minor repairs. Next thing you know, like the one on 105th, they're painting cars there at night and people smell the fumes. So, I mean, again, like Chad said, I think that's a good way to present this. If a variance is given, it should be a conditional variance that can be removed, that is stated that it will be removed. Another quick question is, so the sales component still exists, and we see the 14 spots here that are in some state of repair. So how many cars then, maybe this is a question for building and housing, but then how many cars would be allowable for sales? And to get back to what Chad said, I mean, the parking up and down the side, there's a handicapped resident that lives on that street that literally, I think, gave up on calling our office because the sidewalk is constantly bombarded with vehicles and they're all to this shop. And there's just this game of shuffling them around. And you have a handicapped person who sometimes can't get through there. Like I said, I think they just gave up on it. And it's such a sad fact that that's what's happened now in Ward 11. Certain wards on the west side have just become bombed with automotive usages, and they're all terrible. And I think that the owners know that there's a game that's played. You can do whatever you want in Cleveland. You won't do that in Lakewood. You won't do that in Rocky River, but you can get away with it on certain parts of the west side, and I'm sure on the east side too. I would think if there's a variance given, it has to be conditional, that it can be removed and revoked, because Chad and I, we have no faith. We've been seeing this for years and years and years. It just gets automotive uses, just end up with junk vehicles up and down the street, just like Patriot Auto Sales on 122nd. The list goes on and on. And this substantial of a bill, I would just wonder where are all the cars going to be displaced to while this is all going on? And then when it opens, how many cars do we have that are for sale? And with these 14 spots here that are gonna be, you know, transient vehicles. So I just don't think there's been enough research into this. I don't think there's been enough community outreach. And if a variance is given, I would definitely ask, like Chad said, that it would be a conditional variance that can be revoked.
Okay. I will turn to you now to respond to this problem with the cars being parked everywhere.
Thank you. I appreciate the input and the comments from the city and CDC. We believe this project would help alleviate the situation, the parking situation in the street, as this project actually reduces the amount of vehicles being sold. Half the lot will not be accessible for vehicle sales. The amount of vehicles in the lot for sale would be no more than 15 vehicles. During construction, vehicles, or before construction actually happens, the vehicles would be sold off and to comply with the room requirements, to have nothing parked on the sidewalks or on the streets. We want to be good neighbors. We want to make this project work, and we want to make everyone happy. We would appreciate that if you guys do approve this variance, we have no problem with a revocation clause be put in. If we do not comply, revoke the variances issued. I think we would support that 100% because we are committed to making this project work. And we know there's a problem there. And this project, in our mind, would address that problem.
Okay, so there were photos submitted by Mr. Chad Dasher from the CDC. You had an opportunity to review those?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and you understand that the cars parked along the streets is unacceptable, right?
Absolutely, and on the sidewalk as well.
Okay, so is it a commitment that CLE Ohio Properties can make if they get this variance, that the cars will only remain inside of the fence?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Ms. Faith, I can see that your hand is raised. Please go right ahead.
Yes, I have several things to say. First of all, I'd like to know how long the current owner has owned this parcel and this business on the parcel.
Can you speak to that?
I believe it's 3 years.
Okay.
Okay. All
He
right.
raised his hand, I think.
All right, Sam, I can see that your hand is raised. So do you want to chime in now?
Yes, can I please?
We'll have to
Okay,
swear you
we'll have,
in.
yeah, we'll have to swear you in. Ms.
Okay.
Faith, do you want to have him sworn in or do you want to go with your questions first?
Now, as the owner of the business, I feel like he needs to be sworn in so he can speak on this case.
All right, go ahead and swear him in, please, Ms. Roca.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, state I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address.
Yes, I do. Osama Iwais, O-S-A-M-A, Iwais, I-W-A-I-S. I'm the owner of CLE Ohio Properties, and I've had it for about 3 years now. And I did own it for 3 years, but I was having somebody else running the shop for me. His name was Mahmoud. He's no longer with us. He probably left in March. I want to say right before, yeah, maybe February and March. I've been across the street at the Metro by T-Mobile store for about 20 years, so I know the whole neighborhood. And we did have a lot of complaints about him parking the cars on the street and on the sidewalk. But I want to say it's been about a month now that I've been running the place myself now. And I could promise you the cars on the sidewalk and the streets won't be here no more. And I did buy another car lot, a storage, not a car lot, a storage space on West 150th off of Chatfield, where I could store all these cars and the extra cars that we're gonna have. So we won't have this problem no more.
Okay, thank you.
Where I'm gonna store the cars at, you can go look at the storage spot that we have now, so we won't have this problem.
Okay, thank you for that. Ms. Faith, do you want to continue with your questions?
Yes, thank you. Given that information, that is helpful. I will say, just go down some of the things that Mr. Dasher, Mr. Rogers said. First of all, it seems apparent that there has been no community engagement on this project prior to it going into design development or going through review by other departments within the city. So I know for a fact that there has been a long-standing complaints on this property. And those complaints are often voiced at the Cleveland Police Department First District Community Engagement meetings, which I have been involved in for a number of years, over a decade. I happened to be just by this property yesterday, and there were still violations. The tree lawns have all been asphalted over. There are, it's a constant use of parking on the tree lawns over the sidewalk. If you look at the Google Earth images, there are cars parked on the tree lawn, which is asphalted over, and crossing the sidewalk. The
sorry.
building directly abuts residential to the south and residential to the east. A brick wall facade facing either direction, particularly of that height, would obstruct sight lines for the residents of the adjoining homes. The engineer for the project already stated that there may be long-term parking of cars on the exterior of the parking lot due to engine repairs, and their need for additional bays and oversized bays was it that they could install lifts and do more major repairs. Major repairs next to residential districts are loud, noisy, and often emitting noxious and toxic fumes, and are not in keeping with the code for the neighborhood. I could go on, but I think you get the point. This as Mr. Rogers pointed out, did go through apparently design review. We have yet to hear from city planning as to the status of that actually, but there has been no community engagement. I see no one from the neighborhood. They are in support. We may have correspondence I don't know about. Ms. Kukla has not offered yet, but 1999, since I entered this neighborhood, it has been a constant eyesore, has continually had violations. And again, there has been no landscaping, and they've taken over the sidewalks, the tree lawn, and they're all asphalted over. And there's been cars parked on the street. Sorry. Those are my comments.
All right, any other questions from the board?
You got one more.
I can see Marcus. Okay, hearing no questions.
One more statement. Yes, again, Chad Dasher, Associate Director, Westtown Community Development. When I spoke earlier, I pointed out that the 5/12/25 date on the pictures. They've had this for 3 years now. Want to be good players in the neighborhood. That lot didn't get picked up. Those cars numbers did not go down until they knew they were coming to this board. Some of the photos I have you is in April of 2025. I have zero faith that this is going to, I think it's going to be more cars.
Okay.
It's just become like Mr. Rogers was saying here, it has just become an all too common problem in the city of Cleveland.
Okay. All right. Did you have another comment?
I did. There's been 3 owners over the last 30 plus years. I actually worked when it was a Long Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Long Brothers is on West 105th, and that was their satellite branch there. My dad was with the Long Brothers owner, so when I was a kid, I had a paper route and I washed cars for my dad's. Okay, we're going back a ways. But then Craig Long, my dad died, and Craig Long eventually retired here not too long ago. He started selling off his properties, and this became Buggies Unlimited, which was actually not as bad as this particular usage, not ownership now, but was sort of in the middle. Long Brothers was really clean. It was really well, they always were one of the only good automotive usages like in the area. I mean, there's a few, I don't want to say they're all bad, but most are. But then Buggies Unlimited had it, and Buggies Unlimited was sort of in the middle there. It wasn't terrible. They didn't do a lot of repairs and stuff like that. We didn't get a ton of complaints about them. And the couple that we did over the years, like we would go there and talk to them, things would be resolved pretty quickly. But then this ownership, that's when the complaints really started heating up about the parking, about the sidewalk. And they really wanted to get into the repair game. And I think Ms. Faye said it best. Repairs are just really bad as they abut residential districts because of the noise. Because like I said, then you end up with body work and painting. They always escalate. And then there's always this backlog of vehicles that aren't really ready to be sold or whatever state they're in. A lot of salvage type work goes on. And then you end up with essentially a lot of junk cars and a lot of cars for sale. So I'm just going back to my point here is some of the history. This has been a downhill slide, as with so many automotive usages in the ward over the years. This is a classic case where this newest ownership has just had flagrant disregard for parking up and down the street and any type of noise or any of that stuff. So anyway, with that.
Okay. All right, I'll give you one last opportunity to respond.
Yeah, there is no intent to do any body work or a paint shop at this location. The owner doesn't have the expertise for that line of work, so that will not be performed. It is an existing use, the mechanic repair shop. Our hours of work would be 8 to 6 p.m., no earlier and no later than that. That's all I need.
Okay, can you speak to any community engagement you've done so far?
We haven't done any community engagement. We've assumed that going through design review, planning commission, and zoning was the process. So actually, we have had this project going since June of last year, going through the landmarks commission, city planning, design review, and zoning. So we've had 8 or 9 months of the process. And had we known there was a community involvement aspect, we definitely would have performed that in that 9-month span.
Okay, can you speak to the fence? Do you intend to fence the property to separate it from the residential district?
Absolutely. We're proposing 6-foot board-on-board fence in the rear. And actually, on the west end of the property, it's zoned residential, even though it's I believe it's a mental institution at that location. And then actually the zoning changes at the center line of West 111th from local retail to residential. And on that side, it doesn't make sense to put a board-on-board fence to screen the property. So what we're doing is installing an ornamental fence and the landscape island. So we believe our improvements actually tighten up the parking lot, reduces the ability to drive over sidewalks, since all these frontages would have curbed islands or landscape beds. And we would only have one egress and ingress, which would be on Lorraine Avenue.
Okay.
So we believe with those aspects, we reduce a lot of the concerns and issues pointed out today.
Okay, and then how are the lines of communications between you all? So if there are any complaints in the future, do you guys have a direct line of communication to the owner to work with them on the complaints?
We've reached out to the owner. We've talked to people a lot. I just don't think it'll exist.
We want to work with you guys. We want to make it work, and you guys have our commitment here. This is being live streamed, recorded, and
Your oath.
we want to be good neighbors with everybody involved.
I think we could have done it in the last 3 years
I
sometime.
wasn't aware of these
All
issues,
right,
sir.
no back and forth conversation.
sorry.
We're just going to keep the conversations to and through the board.
Sure.
Any other questions?
I do have a question.
Okay.
So the property that is adjacent, the residential property that's adjacent to the lot on the rear, have you had any conversations with them? They're very close to, their driveway is right next to where cars are parked and,
I have not had any communication with them.
okay.
I have.
Okay, who's speaking?
Is that-
Sam Lewis.
Okay, can you speak to that, please?
Yes, I've talked to them, and I've helped them a lot. They're refugees from Afghanistan, and I help them translate. They come in my office, and I got their number. I could give you their number. like I said, I've been in this neighborhood for 20 years, but I haven't really been engaged in this dealership like I'm supposed to. But I can take whoever's contact number down. If they get any complaints, they contact me directly. I don't know who they are, but like I don't know any complaints. I would resolve any complaints like on the spot if I need to be.
Okay, thank you for that. Can I
None.
hear a word from city planning, please?
Good morning, Madam Chair. This is Xavier Bay representing City Planning. I did see Board Member Faith's hand go up. If you want her to go first or me, I guess you can.
Oh, I thought that was an old hand. Miss Faith, do you still have comments?
Just a new hand, actually.
Okay, please.
Yes. Would like Mr. Dasher and Mr. Rogers to speak to the adjacency of the Christian home and the thoroughfare for students to walk to Wilbur right through school that might go past this, the adjacency to O'Reilly car supply that's by this, and the frequency of the RTA stop that's adjacent to this, just in light of pedestrian traffic. And I just also want to point out again that we have the CDC here and the city council representative here, and there has been no communication about this with them prior to this. This is, of course, a public meeting, but there has been no engagement with them prior to this, and clearly no community engagement prior to this, which normally we would want to see before we see a project like this going forward. Thank you. And if Mr. Dasher and Mr. Rogers could speak to the issues that I brought up. Thank you.
Okay, which one of you wants to go? Because we've got to move this along.
So the property to the west is the Cleveland Christian Home, now operated by the Centers. It's basically an orphanage. The city and the county have sunk a substantial amount of money helping them. They're a 501c3. I think a lot of people here know who the Centers are. They're now managing the property. The city and the county have put a lot into that. They just had their grand reopening a couple weeks ago. The property to the south now, I think it's important to note is a LLC in a rental property. It's a double, it's a duplex. So the family there, although they may be, being helped by Mr. Iwas, there is an element to rental properties where it's transient. You know what I mean? Like well, first of all, it's a double. So we don't know about the other unit right now, how they feel about it. And there could be, where you get rentals, someone rents there for 2 years, but the next people in line might rent there and they may not be so thrilled by having a repair shop next to it. So I think it's important to note that it's a double behind it. And then the apartments to the east of it, like I said, they complain about it a lot. And I know one of the owners of one of the apartments, he bought that apartment not too long ago. It was in really bad repair, and he's made some efforts to improve it. And he's been frustrated with it too. Now, to be fair, those apartments don't have parking, so they were built like probably in 1910 or something, before people own cars, especially people that live in apartments. So, but to be fair, their argument is, but parking in the city of Cleveland being first come, first served, that doesn't mean that the auto dealers get to take all the parking. That's for profit endeavors, whereas people that work and have cars and they don't have parking in those apartments, they would like to use those parking spots. So I think what Ms. Faith says is best. There just hasn't been significant community engagement. And I also have one last concern, is the ingress egress being on Lorraine like that. I'm surprised that made it through city planning like that, because that is a super busy strip of Lorraine Avenue. And you have, again, now you have the orphanage next door. You do have students that go around there. It's like that apparently it went through city planning, but
Yeah.
that's a little
Existing.
Yeah, it's existing, but if we're talking about increasing the amount of input output, I don't know about that. So anyway,
Okay, yeah, that's beyond our purview. So we can't necessarily go back on design reviews ruling. Any other questions from the board? If not, I will entertain a
Madam
motion.
Chair, I do. I don't think we've heard from the city.
City planning.
But
I did
before
go ahead, to be fair.
Xavier goes with his comments, Xavier, can you please speak to the purpose and intent of the zoning code as it relates to auto repair shops in residential districts?
Yes, thank you. Again, my name is Xavier Bay, representing city planning. I'll start off with the history here. So for the design review, this went through our Landmarks Commission and was approved on August 29th, 2024 with the Certificate of Appropriateness. And it looks like within the description of this Certificate of Appropriateness, it means that approval of certificate of appropriateness for an addition and site improvements to, with the inclusion of the presented awning and signage and support for any needed zoning variances, and with the requirement that the landscaping material be hardy native plants, and a note that any additional signage will need to be reviewed and approved separately. And so that's specifically from the Landmarks Commission. Our neighborhood planner had left a comment. He wasn't able to make it, but he wanted to make sure that this was read into the record. Neighborhood planner Nate Lowell sends this note pertaining to the variances. He says, regarding this proposed auto use expansion, it's an aesthetic upgrade over what is currently proposed or currently existing. However, we have observed significant and repeated problems with the current owners parking vehicles along the sidewalk, tree line, and in the street on West 111th Street. Thus, this property has become a nuisance to the neighborhood by blocking public right-of-way and putting a strain on our safety services, which must respond to complaints about this property. Then he says, we feel strongly that should the variances be granted today, the board should consider putting a condition on the approval. I'm not certain that is actually something that we can put into the conditions specifically towards the parking on the sidewalks. So then he finishes to say, we recommend the condition that all vehicles, for sale vehicles and vehicles to be repaired on site, be contained entirely within the property. No vehicles should be parked in the street, sidewalk, or tree line. And we recommend making this condition of approval because should the owner choose to ignore this condition, it will give the board the ability to revoke their variances. I believe that last part, that doesn't stand. And so those are the notes we have as far as our recommendation. I would like to speak to Board Member Roca's comment. So this being a local retail business district directly adjacent to a residence district is mainly the reason why we're seeing it here today. These types of uses are generally more contextual in a general retail business district that isn't adjacent to residence districts. I will also mention maybe if the applicant can clarify if this is going to be used for minor repair or major repair. I think fitting that into the record should limit some of the more major work that they may propose to be doing on the vehicles, should you decide to approve the variances today. I will also mention a lot of what we're seeing is currently existing. They are, proposing to expand more bays, which could increase the amount of service to vehicles. And so I think really determining if this is going to be major or minor repair would help if this does move forward.
So when you say a lot of this is currently existing, so they have the right to this use regardless of the decision today. It's just whether they can expand the use. Am I understanding that?
That's correct, Madam Chair. That this is the reason. Yeah, again, the reason we're seeing this is because they're expanding the alterations here. Creating new structures of 3 additional bays.
Understood. And to the appellant, can you clarify whether the repairs will be major or minor?
My understanding is they're all going to be minor repairs. I did state engine repairs, but I think the owner probably could speak more to that. Sam, can you speak to the type of repairs?
Yeah, it'll be minor repairs. There will be some engine repairs, but like that would be rare. Like that's not good. Most. I want to say 80% of the repairs would be minor repairs. Correct.
Can you provide some examples of the repairs? Please?
Struts, shocks, oil changes, brakes, ball joints, that kind of nature. Like no, there would be zero body work done, no painting, no fumes, zero. 0% bodywork.
Okay, I will entertain a motion, please.
Ms. Faith's hands up again. I'm not sure if it's new or.
Ms. Faith, your hand is up and my mind says that's an old hand, but can you please clarify?
That was an old hand.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
In this particular instance, that was an old hand.
Thank you, Ms. Faith. All right, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Madam Chair, apparently I'm going to let this move to the floor. So I will motion that calendar number 25-071 be denied.
Is there a second on the denial?
This is Board Member Madison. I'll second.
All right. Let's call the vote, please.
Okay, Ms. Holzer,
No.
Ms. Roca,
No.
Mr. Madison,
No.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
I want to clarify. The no vote means they support the denial.
I am thinking it means they are not in support of the
Correct.
denial.
Okay, the no vote
voting
means do not
yes.
support the denial. Okay,
Correct.
I would vote no.
Okay, so the motion fails. Does a board member want to make a new motion?
Motion to approve calendar number 25-071.
Board Member Roca, I second.
Are there any conditions on the motion?
I would put in the conditions that only minor auto repair is done on site. That no vehicles be parked outside of the lot, so nothing on the sidewalks, nothing on the streets, nothing down West 111. And that I think that one place where I'm struggling is really around the number of cars for sale that are going to be on the lot overnight. My understanding from the owner is that there's another building where much of those vehicles are going to be stored. And so again, the parking spaces, my understanding, as you've attested, is that the parking spaces are only for your clients, not for the vehicles that are going to be sold.
Correct.
So the parking would be restricted only to clients of your business?
Yes.
Okay, and so that would be a condition as well, that the vehicles that are for sale will not be parked in those parking spots. And again, they will also not be parked on the street or outside of the parcel.
All right. We've amended the motion. Is there a second to the amended motion?
Board Member Roca, I second.
All right.
It looks like
call the
Ms.
vote.
Faith may have put her hand up again.
Uh-oh, Miss Faith with this hand. Is this old or new?
That is an old hand.
Oh.
Okay,
All right, let's lower the hand so we're not all
Yeah,
confused.
it's still up from before.
All right, thank you, Miss Faith. Can we call the vote, please?
Madam Chair, did we hear a number on the space, the cars to be displayed? Was that 15? I think I heard them say that earlier in the discussion. Would you like to make that part of the?
We mentioned 15. That was just a guess on my part, but it would be in that range, 15 to no more than 20 vehicles.
And I think if we limit it to what's contained in the fence, I mean, only what fits,
Yeah,
fits,
absolutely.
right? So whether we
Mhm.
have a number or not, we should be okay. Do we want to just say maximum 15?
20, I would say 20.
Okay, maximum 20?
And that's for sale.
Okay.
All right, so I have a second. Okay.
I think I second that amendment, right?
Right.
I second the amendment.
3 second.
Okay, Mr. Madison,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
No.
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 25-071 is granted conditionally. I don't believe we're holding it for any revised site plan. I believe it's on there unless you want a revised site plan showing maximum sales
Mhm.
display area, 20 cars. Would you like?
I think
something
that's fair. Is
Do
that a
that.
part of your motion?
Sorry.
I mean, I would like that on the record.
But a revised
Like another
site
thought
plan,
is coming out.
we could get a
Yeah.
revised site plan where he could get this one very quickly. We've worked with him before. I know it could just state be an area that's labeled the maximum number of cars that would be stored there. We could, do that, if that's all right. If that's something you want to do, it's up to the board.
The appellant, is that, can you
Okay,
submit a,
Absolutely.
okay. All right, and
So
you're
we'll
clear
hold
about
it.
what should be on that new plan?
Yes.
Yes, okay, perfect. All right, Madam Secretary, I'm sorry, go
Thank
ahead.
you. I'll hold ratification. If you can't get it to us this week, then we'll hold it to the following week. And once we receive it, we'll ratify it that Monday. We'll send you a letter. You can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction.
Got a question. Will these conditions actually be written into the variance?
Yes.
Or is it gonna be
It will,
a handshake thing that
no,
they'll
no,
never
no, no,
follow?
they'll be in writing. which
It's
is why
gonna be
our
in writing
good
in ours.
Secretary is
Absolutely.
clarifying. Yep, they will
Yeah.
be in writing. All right, we're gonna call the next case.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, you're welcome. Good luck with your project. This next case is Jason Rohal at 3809 Clinton Avenue. Do I have an appellant present?
Madam Chair, before we proceed, I would state for the record that I'm recused.
From this matter, okay. Thank you for letting us know. We'll let the record reflect that you are recused. I can see the appellant is present. I'll have Ms. Hoser read the case in.
Our next case is calendar number 25-072. This is at 3809 Clinton Avenue. Jason Rohal, owner, proposes to erect an open front porch and mudroom addition to an existing single-family residence in a B12 family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. And with that, I will hand it over to you, Madam Chair, for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Hoser. All right, I'm going to swear in all who are present for this matter. I'll start with you, Mr. Rohal. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? You raise your right hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give us your address.
I do. And my name is Jason Rohal, JASON ROHAL. Address is 3809 Clinton Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44113.
All right, thank you for that. And is there anyone else present for this matter in the room or online? All right, hearing none, we will turn to history of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. We didn't find very much on this property. We did find that in 1924, a garage was erected on the property. And then we see that starting in 2021, there were alterations to the structure on the site, including electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and so on. And there are no variances on file. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Legal, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the interior side yard requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you for that. We'll now turn to you, the appellant, to tell us about the project.
Sure thing. So we've lived in the neighborhood for going on 3 years now. As I mentioned, I'm the homeowner as well as the architect. We are thrilled to be in the neighborhood here, and the design centers on. And I don't know if the presentation is subsequent after these slides right here. I have a site plan that kind of sums this up pretty well. But as you can see from these context photos right here, we designed the home several years back, and within the Ohio City Historic District, we adhere to pretty strict standards in the design of the home itself. And similar to other homes in the neighborhood, we have a detached garage off the rear of the home. We the setback is very much so in line with the other homes. We actually had to request a variance whenever we were building the home to ensure that was to remain contextual along the principal facade, along the north facade here. As we recently welcomed a daughter about a year ago, the detached garage off of the rear of the house, as well as the main principal front entry of the home, presents a unique challenge. And so what I'm proposing here is a very small mudroom that is affixed to the east side of the home. And so in doing so, as many of you know, the Ohio City neighborhood is a very densely packed neighborhood with many historic homes. And very similarly, a lot of the homes in the neighborhood, many of them already have either zero setbacks or very, very small setbacks in the neighborhood. And so what we are proposing, in order to fit a door affixed to the side of the home that faces towards the front as well as to the rear, we're basically just allowing that bump out to encompass that door and then the actual partition along the east side of the property as well. So the conditioned space that would be added on the east side, not occupying a current footprint already, is about 30 square feet. There is a little inset niche, like a little light well, that's on the east side of the home. The total square footage added would be about 80 square feet, but only 30 of that would protrude beyond basically the existing building footprint. So in this slide right here, you see the existing building footprint and then the proposed as well. So just enough to tack on a door front and back. And as I mentioned, you know, our lot is only 33 feet wide. So already the lot is a very, very narrow parcel. And many of the homes, including those across the street, adjacent, et cetera, come within about a foot or so from the existing property lines. And many of them are very, very close to the neighboring properties. Uniquely, our property, as you can see in the upper rendering here, sits nearly 40 feet away from the closest adjacent building to the east. So we do have a good amount of separation of space between any proposed addition, whether it be just the porch or the actual conditioned space, and the adjacent property. There is landscaping that is that's actually there as a buffer. Everything that is there right now would align with a current fence line that is set back onto our property. And right now, currently we've engaged the landmarks commissions. We've gone before them, and the Ohio City Historic Design Review passed the design unanimously. And for, let's see here, what else? I think that's pretty much everything. I think that is the end of the presentation itself. But I look forward to any questions or comments that anybody here has. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you for your presentation. Any questions from the board? Pretty straightforward. All right, Ms. Faith, here we go with this hand again. Is that a question or is that an old hand? I think that might be an old hand. All right, any words from city planning on this?
Good morning. My name is Xavier Bay, representing City Planning. Yeah, I mean, we don't have any comments on this one, recommending approval because there's an abundance of space on the neighbor's side yard if they do decide to move forward with any type of additions or renovations in the future. It seems like there's ample room that they wouldn't be impacted by this addition.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Madam Secretary?
Yes, I should state for the record that I have an email from Councilman Kerry McCormick. He states, please accept this email as my full support for the variance requested at 3809 Clinton Avenue, which should be in front of you today. Please let me know if you have any questions. That's Kerry McCormick, Ward 3.
Okay, thank you for that, Madam Secretary. All right, hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Board Member Madison, motion to approve calendar number 25-072.
Thank you for that. Is there a second?
Board Member Holzer, I second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 25-072 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday. We will send the appellant a letter. He can contact us next Wednesday for further instructions.
Thank
All
you.
right, you are all set. You're very welcome. Good luck with your project.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. All right, we're now going to move to the next case, which is at 11609 Corlett Avenue. Is Harold Price present?
Yes.
Okay, come on forward to the table and I'll have Ms. Holzer read in the case.
Our next case is calendar number 25-073. This is at 11609 Corlett Avenue. Harold Price, owner, proposes to change use from store to carry-out restaurant in a C1 multifamily residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 5. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give today is the truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, state I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address.
I do. Harold Price, HAROLD PRICE, 11609 Corlett Avenue.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in this matter? Seeing someone online potentially?
Melvin Leach. My name is Melvin Leach, MELRAN, LEACH, with New Point Community Development Corporation, 4127 East 131st Street. And I
Thank
have the
you.
economic.
Did I hear an IQ there? You
I
swear?
didn't hear. Yes, I do.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the call who wishes to speak in this matter? Hearing none, back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. We'll go to history of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found that in 1925, the property was built as a store. And we found also in the Records Administration Office that there were permits pulled in 1954 to remodel the store on site. There are no variances on file and nothing of note in the more recent history. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam Secretary. Can we have legal, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance and area variances from the parking, driveway, and lighting requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you for that. I will start with you. You want to tell us about your project?
It was when I had got the property, it was a previous restaurant, and I guess they didn't have like the I guess who was running it previously before I got it, they didn't have an occupancy permit, but the two other restaurants that was there before, they had it. So on a deed, it say like a restaurant. So I ain't know. Trying to turn it back into a restaurant, basically.
Okay, tell us a little bit about your plan and what you're going to do.
I just want to make it like a carry-out restaurant, like no sit in or nothing, just carry out, pick up and go. That's basically it.
Okay. All right, we also swore in Melran Leach. Mr. Leach, do you want to give your comment at this time?
Yes, we met Mr. Price, and I've just recently joined New Point in February of last year, and we've been reaching out to businesses. Mr. Price, there was with the city and the city programs, there's a little bit of disconnect that we had to get through a barrier. But he did come into the office, we did speak, but then there was some time where we weren't actually all the way involved. But we are involved and we totally support this project. I went to John Adams High School, and I do remember that being I don't want to do too much and tell you my age, but I graduated in '85 from John Adams. And there was always a restaurant there that we knew of and went to. So we fully support the project. He's doing everything that he's supposed to do to make sure that not just the restaurant is there, but the landscaping and everything around it. I'm helping him to get contractors. Everything I asked Mr. Price to do, he does it. So we support him. We just had another restaurant open, and it'll give us diversity in this community. And he's going to look to get SES funding. So that would help him to bring this property back to life. As you can see, it's a small property, but the parcel that it sits on is much larger. And he's trying to has a plan to do everything to make sure that that whole corner is revitalized.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Leach. I do see that we have Mr. Gray in the room. I know that you were not sworn in, so we'll swear you in at this time.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please
Yeah.
state your name, spell your name and give your address.
Kenya Gray, KENYAGRAY, address is 601 Lakeside.
Thank you.
All right, you want to go ahead with your comments?
Yeah, I've been working with Harold here for like a month, maybe a little bit longer than that. I also have history in the area. I mean, I grew up over there. My aunt went to John Adams. She didn't graduate at 85, but it's always been like a restaurant. It used to be Coneheads. I think that it should become a restaurant again. I don't see any other use for it as it stands. So I'm in support of this project for the community.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I'll also add a few comments. I believe Kenya had mentioned working with the applicant. They're providing a lot of off-street parking that's required, and they are in a TOD zone. And then also mentioned that the driveway is already existing. I think the applicant is planning to move forward with our Division of Streets to understand, how closing that, the process for closing that is in the future. And then I believe the applicant had also discussed with Kenya the outdoor lighting. I think if you all
Yeah,
can speak to that.
we also had context photos, if you want to show those, Xavier. So you can see like on the side of the building, there's floodlights. I think it's a total of 4 or 5 on the side where the parking lot is located. So it's sufficiently lit, in case that was a worry that you guys had as well.
Okay, and that's the actual condition it's in right now, not a rendering?
That's today.
Okay. All right, I'll just, for fun of it, show you what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it don't look like that.
A little different.
It does not look like
Oh, yeah.
It looks much nicer in these
Much
pictures.
nicer, absolutely.
And
That's-
if I can make one more comment, this is Melvin Leach from New Point Community Development Corporation. The owner has made substantial improvements to the interior and exterior of the property. Actually, the interior is ready to go. Everything is in there. He invested in a hood and he's made sure he's done everything correct. But he just did not know that it was zoned this way, and he wasn't working with us. So it would be a substantial hardship for him based on the investment that he's made in the property.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Leach. Can you speak to that? If you're not allowed to operate the business in the way that you're requesting to do so today, what kind of hardship would you face?
I would face a lot of hardship because this is my livelihood, cooking. Like, I love cooking, so I got everything invested into this. So that's basically it.
Okay, any questions from the board?
I have a couple of questions, just quickly for the record, what your intended hours of operations will be, or hours of operation will be, and then the number of employees you plan on having on site.
From 8 in the morning to 11 p.m. at night. Maybe like 6 employees.
And will all those employees be working at once, or is that sort of like on a rotating shift base?
Like a rotating shift.
All set?
Yep.
All right, other questions from the board? All right, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Madam Chair, given the testimony we've heard today, I move that we approve calendar number 25-073.
Thank you for that, Ms. Faith. Is there a second?
Board Member Roca, I second.
All right, can we call the vote? Oh my gosh, call the vote, please. Sure.
Mr. Madison,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Calendar 25-073 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday. We'll send you a letter, but you can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
You're very welcome. Good luck with your
Have a blessed
project.
day.
You too. All right, I'll call the next case. This is at 7306 Colgate Avenue. Do we have someone here from EJ Real Estate Holdings? All right, perfect. We'll go ahead and read that into the record, please.
Our next case is calendar number 25-075. This is at 7306 Colgate Avenue. EJ Real Estate Holdings LLC owner proposes to establish an accessory surface parking lot in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one with a couple of additional bullet points, A through C. Okay. Unless you want me to read them, we're going to leave it at that. With that, I'll hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? Please state your name, reply I do, spell your name, and provide your address.
I do. My name is Jeremiah Johnson, Jeremiah. Johnson, Johnsson. My address is 5505 East Shore Drive, Northwest Canton, Ohio, 44718.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the call who wishes to speak today? I see someone's hand up.
Hi, good morning. I'm sorry, my camera is not working for some reason. This is Heather Lazar from the Ward 15 Council Office for Councilmember Jenny Spencer.
Thank you. And do you swear?
I do.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the call? Seeing none, back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Ms. Roca. History of the property, please, Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found that in 1892, a permit was issued for an addition and alterations. 1929, a permit was issued to erect a one-story garage. 1930, a permit was issued to erect a greenhouse on the property. Then in the more recent history, Madam Chair, we see that beginning in 2002, there were violations regarding exterior maintenance issued to the property again in 2012. And then in 2018, we see that there was a city demo record. And the status date was contract awarded 2020. I'm not sure. I can't find anything stating that it was actually demolished, a structure was demolished or not, but I do see that then in 2019, there were residential board ups issued to the property. And then 2022, there was a lead safe, a certificate renewal submitted. There are no variances on file, and that's all that I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam Secretary. Can we have legal, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the parking requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. Note the board may permit an exception for the violation under certain circumstances. They're listed here that there is no way to provide such parking spaces on the same lot as the use, that for a permitted apartment house, such parking spaces are within 200 feet of, let's see, or for any other permitted use within 400 feet of the nearest boundary of the lot upon which the use is located, measured by a straight line between the 2 points, and see that the separate lot upon which parking spaces are provided is in the same ownership as the permitted use.
All right, thank you for that. I'll now turn to you. You want to tell us about your project?
Sure. Yes. I purchased the apartment building next door to this lot and began renovating it. I've worked closely with Jenny Spencer in her office, and Heather's been amazing to work with as far as planning this project out. The apartment building specifically, it was vacant for 10 years, and it unfortunately housed some very nefarious activities inside there, and it was, I would say, a blight on the community. So we've taken tons of effort to renovate it. We're in the final stages of the renovation. The one thing I also like to mention maybe is maybe kind of our community involvement. We just as a group, or actually my wife and I are the only owners, but we have quite a few team members, and I'd like to read our mission and just kind of explain how this fits in there. Our mission is to restore and revitalize lives, homes, and communities. We provide a fresh start by purchasing properties from sellers facing challenges. We create a supportive culture that helps all team members thrive despite past decisions. We renovate neglected homes and sell them or rent them, providing safe, thriving environments for families. By transforming neighborhoods, we spark a positive change and create a ripple effect of renewal. And this really fits with what our mission is. We've purchased over 260 properties at this point. This has been 100 times more difficult than any other property we've ever taken on. We've had 38 break-ins. Just this last week, I lost $10,000 more worth of tools. I own a construction company. The construction company that works on this and works on all our properties only works for us. And we just got, about a year ago, we got featured on Channel 5 News, and this title was Restoring Lives While Restoring Properties, which is really cool because we work with a lot of guys coming out of addiction and coming out of incarceration and put them in a culture that's very different and try to really change lives. And I can tell you about the lives that have been changed. And in fact, if you watch that news story, you'd see this building in a very different state than it's in right now. So we are in the final phases of this building, and it is way over budget, and it's way over. It's been super challenging. So I'm very thankful that the city council has been city councilwoman has been so supportive in the whole process, and I think I was way too optimistic going into the project, if I'm being honest. The other thing is, so obviously this is for a parking lot, so there's no parking for the 12 units that are there, and so all the parking would have to take place on the street. Right now, it's been vacant for 10 years, so obviously it hasn't created a bunch of parking, but parking need. Well, it will once it's inhabited with residents. The other thing about the renovations, if you see the inside of it, it is not renovated like a typical apartment building. We've really went all out. Quartz countertops, huge kitchens, beautiful light fixtures, all new. It's basically a brand new building. The same teams that do the projects there also do $500,000 homes for me. They're super high quality work there. So I'm very confident in that. But this parking lot is extremely integral to the success of this project. Without it, I don't know. It's quite dire because it's going to be tough to retain good tenants and people that want to see the community get better if they don't have parking available for them. So.
Okay, so I just want to speak to the additional exceptions that are required under the legal standard here. Is there a way to provide parking on the same lot as the building?
No.
Okay, speak to that just a bit.
So basically, you can see even with the area that's there, I can only get about 12 parking spots. The lot itself right now, even to rebuild a new structure on it, it would have to require variance because it's too narrow. It's just a few feet too narrow. And so so there's only that little tiny triangle. You probably could fit 2 or 3 cars on that, and that would be it. And even still, it might be a challenge. So, yeah.
And how far in terms of distance is the parking lot from the actual structure?
Yeah, it absolutely 100%. And you can see the lot and the building actually touch each other. I mean, for about 30% of the building it touches, and then the small triangle of land it had touches the other part. It's completely adjacent. So.
Okay. And you own the actual building, is that correct?
I own the building and the lot. Yes, the lot. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And how many parking spaces do you intend to put?
I'd like as many as possible, but right now what I have drawn up in the plans is 12. I would love to have more than that, but so. It also, if I'm being honest, like my construction manager, his vehicle was stolen while he was on the project at one point. So there is getting security is super important.
Yes.
And being able to put my tenants in a position where they can be on a lot and I can have proper cameras and all that sort of stuff. It's going to be important for us to retain and create the culture and what we want to see happen in that area. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions from the board? All right, we'll go to Ms. Laser. Do you have comments for this, please?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. This section of our ward is an incredibly vulnerable section of the community. It has been, as Jeremiah Johnson alluded to, it's been subject to so many challenges and safety concerns, human trafficking, drug abuse. To see this building that had been vacant acquired by such a responsible owner and renovated is, truly monumental, and it is going to create a momentum that is so much needed and deserved. The council office recognizes that without safe adjacent parking, finding and keeping tenants is going to be such a challenge. So the parking is truly necessary for the renovation of this building. And I want to state that Mr. Johnson has always been responsive to our outreach. He met with our community members when he first acquired the building. We will work with him to schedule an open house for the community to see his wonderful work, because we believe that many of the future tenants will come from, directly from within the community or contacts within the community. And we look forward to seeing this project end and maintaining an ongoing communication with Mr. Johnson. So thank you to the board and thank you to Mr. Johnson for all of his work.
All right, thank you so much for your comment. Mr. Bay, any comments from city planning?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Xavier Bay again, representing City Planning. We're in support of the variances. Nate Lowell, the neighborhood planner, left a few notes. He's also stating that we're in support. For context, this used to be a former land bank lot, and the city has transferred it to the current owner, who also owns an adjacent apartment building currently being rehabbed. And so he's also stating that the parking renovations allow more of the potential for the apartment complex being rehabbed to retain residents. And then Nate Lowell also mentions this stretch of Detroit Shoreway has faced very serious vacancy. And the parking lot will enhance the aesthetics of the area and provide a safe option for residents of the apartment complex. We also see that landscaping and screening is proposed adjacent to the residences to the west. And so, yeah, we're in full support. We really commend the operators for bringing back more, residents to this vacancy in this area. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bay. I will.
Madam Chair, I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
With regard to the curb cut for the parking lot, where is that? Is that behind the building or is it on the side of the building?
It's technically on the side of the building, so we have, so essentially it would have to, the only way to make it work would be like basically a pull through. So right now, the way it's drawn up is that you would enter from Colgate Avenue and then you would pull through and then you would exit the other way on the other road. So.
I see. Okay.
And the other thing, just as a point, like the property had fallen into disrepair behind there. It was a duplex that had been torn down. The city tore it down, and they had assessed the cost of the tear down to the owner. Well, I'll be honest, like if it wasn't for the help of Heather in Jenny Spencer's office, I had trouble finding the owner, and so actually we went through all kinds of things. It was some LLC held all over the world. I don't know. Some mess. So eventually we tracked it down. It was almost like detective work to find the owner, and then actually I just purchased it from the owner. And so actually I ended up paying for the whole teardown because I paid for the whole tax assessment, and plus put a couple grand in their pocket. But they didn't know they didn't even know they owned it. So when I found them, they didn't even know they existed. It was such a mess because people out of the area, they don't care. I mean, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to see that when you're putting such effort into it, and you're like,
Right.
You don't even know you own this property. I'm trying so hard to give you money. So.
Well, kudos to you for that. Any other questions from the board? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I know that this isn't part of the write-up, but just have a question on whether or not there's going to be any sort of fencing around the parking lot, if it's just going to be a paved lot, and then if there's lighting behind the building.
So yeah, lighting, fencing, and cameras all integrated together. Yeah.
Okay.
So the plan is initially not to have any kind of closing fencing. The goal is to hopefully secure it with enough cameras and such. Obviously, the last break-in, they stole my electrical meter and then took down all the electrical systems, and then they broke in and installed the tools. So hence the reason I don't know who did it. So I don't know. So maybe have to even go battery backup or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a tough thing. But yes, the answer to your question.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board?
Madam Chair, Ms. Holster sort of took my question, but I was curious, and the appellant sort of touched on that. Given the level of criminal activity you've had, do you think that you need to do gates on the parking lot fencing? Like an electronic keypad or something entry?
I really hope it doesn't come to it. I think just having people present would make a huge difference. I mean, if you have 12 people looking out their back porch, it changes the dynamics. The problem is the vacancy. I mean, just having people present makes a huge difference. So I'm hoping that's enough. You know, if we lived in a warmer climate and didn't, you know, a sliding fence, there's a lot of logistical challenges to that and a lot of maintenance calls that get that. So the goal is to do it without that. I hope. I may be eating my words. I'm not sure. So, yeah.
Okay, just wanted to cover that for you while you were before us if we needed to. So
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Madam.
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Holzer.
I was just, sorry, not to cut you off, Ms. Faith.
Go ahead.
I would move approval of calendar number 25-075 based off of the testimony we've heard today.
I'll
Thank you,
second
Ms.
that.
Holzer. All right, we have a second. Let's call the vote.
Ms. Roca?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Holster?
Yes.
And Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Count number 25-75 is granted, will be ratified next Monday, and we'll send you a letter. You can contact us next Wednesday for further instructions.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for your time.
Good luck with your
Appreciate it.
project.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. We're now going to turn to calendar number 24-033 that is at 2439 Tremont Avenue. Do we have an appellant present? There's no one in the room. I assume, I can see Mr. Nance on the screen, so we'll go ahead and, perfect, thank you. We'll go ahead and read the case in. I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Holzer.
Our next case is calendar number 24-033. This is at 2439 Tremont Avenue. Michael Nance, owner, proposes to erect a 3.5-story single-family residence with attached garage and rooftop deck in a proposed 7,060 square foot lot in a C2 general retail business district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 4. This is a rehearing from March 18th, 2024. This case was approved last year with the condition that the appellant consolidate the 2 lots that he owns in order to accommodate the project. Now the appellant is asking for approval of the variances without that lot consolidation. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address.
I do. Michael Nance, MICHAEL NANCE, 859 Jefferson Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44113.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in this matter? Not seeing any hands raised. Back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Ms. Roca. We'll turn to history of the property. Madam Secretary.
Madam Chair, I would just state that the history was read at the time in March. It's important to note that this board granted the variance pending updated drawings showing there would be consolidation as well as the building would be moved 1.5 foot to allow for more maneuvering area. If you'd like, I can read the history, but it was already read in March.
I don't remember from March. I think we should read it.
Sure, okay. So the property was originally zoned general retail and remains in a general retail district. Our Records Administration Office, we found that in 1916, a permit was issued to erect a store and dwelling. In 1920, a permit was issued to erect a store addition. There's one variance on file. Madam Chair, beginning of that, calendar 77-28. This board granted a variance. I'm sorry, I wasn't. to operate a general building contractor's workshop and storage on the site and to store equipment. There is some evidence in the testimony that a bakery occupied the building that was on site. And then, Madam Chair, in 2013, we see that there was a permit issued to demolish the structure on the property.
Okay, that is helpful. Can we have the legal, please?
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the minimum required distance, required rear yard, and maximum gross floor area requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you for that. I will now turn to you, Mr. Nance. Do you want to tell us about your project?
Yes, thanks so much for having me. As you stated, this project was approved for variances pending lot consolidation. As it currently sits, there is a front lot, which you can see, which has a 4-unit structure. We completed that renovation a few years back. The back lot, which is fairly small, is where most of the new structure will sit. The issue that we're confronting now is that there currently is a mortgage, of course, on the front structure. And it is being made apparent to us through lenders that when it comes time to refinance this property, once the construction is completed, many lenders will have a problem lending on a new structure that is on one parcel with a structure that already has a first position lien mortgage on it. And so we're really, in a practical sense, trying to ensure that this project is financeable on the back end. And for most lenders, that requires the building to sit on its own independent parcel. And so what we are requesting now, and I have plans, I don't know if I can show my screen. I sent it over to Liz Kukla this morning, but our architect has drawn out a proposed lot split that will shorten up the front lot, still providing ample room for the existing parking, but moving out the existing front part of the parcel an additional, I believe, I'm looking at this drawing, 15-ish feet. Again, we have this site plan here, and I could show it on my screen if you all like, but I have sent it over. So that's the fundamental request, basically keeping 2 separate parcels with separate parcel pins, but making the back parcel large enough for the structure to sit within it.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Nance. Now, we do have some new board members who don't have the benefit of hearing the testimony at the last hearing. So can you just speak to the variance requests themselves and why you would need the area variances listed here?
The variances themselves, and I made mention of this, as I am not the architect, I am aware of what we were doing, but there was one variance of the adjoining lot. Let's see, so the minimum required distance between the main building on the adjoining lot is 10 feet, where we only have 7 feet and 6 inches. And then depth required to be not less than 20 feet. And I believe we were seeking a variance and were approved pending lot consolidation for a variance of the total square footage, buildable square footage allowed on the lot. So I think those are the 3 key variants. Apologies if I'm butchering any of that.
No, no worries. Okay, so is your project able to keep a distance of 10 feet between the adjoining building? And if not, just explain
When
the
you
difficulty there.
when you say the adjoining building, are we talking about the building in front of it that I own, or the neighboring lots to either side of it?
It's a required distance between main buildings on the adjoining lot.
Okay. So I believe the adjoining lot is the front lot, and yes, there would be more than more than 10 feet from the new structure that would sit in the back of either the consolidated or the separate parcel, and the front 4-unit structure that we have.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. To clarify, the zoning code section you're written up for is pertaining to the building that is adjacent to the lot. So that could be the one in the front or the one to the side. As you could, if you could see, my cursor is hovering over the parcel adjacent here to the south.
Yes.
This is the section you're written up for being within 6 feet in the new plan. And so that's what the board member chair is asking. What the hardship is here, asking for the 6-foot variance when you're required 10.
Yes. So essentially, and I can't remember exactly what our architect stated at the prior hearing, but in order to build a building of this size in plain language, we would need to encroach on that 10-foot requirement along the sides of the building on either side, I believe, because I think on the I think that would be north side, it's only 3 feet there.
Okay, thank you for that, and thank you for clarifying, Mr. Bay. Any questions from the board? All right, no questions.
Hearing no questions, Madam Chair, I'll move to a motion.
Do you have any comments for city planning, Mr. Bay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Xavier Bay again, representing city planning. No additional comments. I think everything that the applicant stated at the beginning of his, presentation, checks all the boxes that we were looking at. As you can see, it's all of these setbacks that they're written up for are understandable when you're building an additional unit in the rear here. It's rather difficult given the lot sizes, and then with the note towards the lot split and consolidation, we're in agreement with that. The main issue we had at the first hearing was there's an issue when you're proposing to build a structure over lot lines, and so that's why this was in a condition for the approval to split and consolidate this lot to have its own lot, so it's not built over a parcel line. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Madam Secretary?
I apologize. Did the appellant state anything about an easement agreement? Sometimes we do make a note in the resolution about creating that easement access agreement between the two parcels. I may have missed it. I apologize if I did.
Mr. Nance, can you speak to that, please?
That's a very good point. I failed to mention that. We would, as you indicated, request that we are able to provide an easement between the front parcel and the back parcel. Obviously, this is helpful to us from a marketability standpoint. We don't plan on selling either of these parcels or buildings in the near future, but in order to have a marketable title, an easement would be very much appreciated in connection with this lot split.
Okay. I'm sorry, were you done or were you going to say more?
That's it.
You're done. Okay. All right. And Ms. Faith, you were going to make a motion. I will give you the floor.
Okay, if everyone's done, I'll go ahead and motion to approve calendar number 24-033. Remembering this case and the issues that we had. And I believe we've got it all cleared up and we understand his need for the ease of financing for this project. So I move we approve.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Faith. Is there a second?
Board Member Holzer, I second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Madam Chair, I would just ask for the record that we state that this is based upon a revised site plan showing that there will be two separate parcels and that they have moved the building from the original just to, I know stated at the original hearing, but just for our record now, we are still making that decision based upon this conditions from the last hearing regarding the placement of the building. And it's all shown on the revised final site plan.
All right, Ms. Faith, can you amend your motion based on those comments?
I will happily amend my motion to include the comments that Ms. Kukla just stipulated.
Okay, thank you for that. So we've got a second from Ms. Holzer. We'll call the vote.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Calendar number 24-033 is granted. We will ratify this next Monday. We'll send you a letter. You can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your
You're welcome. Good luck with your project. We're now going to call the
Thank you.
next and final case, which is at 9709 Miles Avenue. Do we have an appellant present for Kimberly McAllister? I do not see anyone in the room. We don't see anyone on the phone. Yes, what's your name, please?
This is Rasim Parker. I am the part of the project team.
You are part of the project team for the project at 9709 Miles Avenue?
Yes. Kimberly should be on the line.
Kimberly, are you there? Can you please speak up and let us know if you're here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. We're going to start your case now. Ms. Holzer?
Our next and final case is calendar number 25-066. This is at 9709 Miles Avenue. Kimberly McAllister, owner, proposes to establish use as a child care center in a B12 family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from a strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are two. This case was postponed from April 28th, 2025. It's not on the slide, but in our agenda have underlined section 343.01B1. This is new. The hearing on April 28th was postponed to allow time for this new information to be shared. The appellant is proposing to care for more than 30 children on site at the property, which is first permitted in a retail district. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please reply with I do. State your name, spell your name, and give your address. We'll start with you, Kimberly.
Kimberly McAllister, Kimberly, McAllister, McAllisteri, 5709 Dunham Road, Maple Heights, Ohio, 44137. I do.
Thank you. And sir, we'll go with you. I don't know your name.
Rasim Parker, RAFEEM PARKER. Address is 804 London Road, Cleveland, Ohio, 44110.
And do you swear, sir?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
I
Is
do.
there anyone else who'd like to speak in this matter?
Melvin Leach, MELRAN, Leach, LEACH, with New Point Community Development Corporation, 4127 East 131st Street, Cleveland, Ohio.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Ms. Roca. We'll turn to history of the property. Madam Secretary?
Madam Chair, this was read into the into the record last time. I could read it again if you'd like.
High Point.
Okay, sure. It was originally zoned general retail in 1929, and then it was changed to the two-family district in 1924. The structure on the site was built in 1902. The garage was erected in 1916. There are no variances on file and nothing of note in our Acela system. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Legal, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Appellant is requesting an area variance from the minimum distance requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
So this one would be up for a use variance as well, right? I thought that's why we postponed it, so that we could
I was
re-adjudicate.
just double checking that also, sorry. You're right. It is up for a use variance. Not sure how I didn't have that on there. Okay, so I don't have the use on there, but, can we go back to a use and area one? For the standard for the use, Xavier?
For that 11609.
Okay, to obtain, oh wait, no, that one's area.
Right before that.
Okay, to obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such that there will be no economically use of the or economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you for that. We'll now turn to the project team. Who would like to speak first? Would it be Kim or would it be Rasim?
Well, yeah, we're applying because I guess the number of children are above the local zoning situation. So this building it's pretty much set up for a commercial type use, or it was a church. It's been vacant for a while, and we want to bring it back into use with a use that should be aligned with the neighborhood. Kids, we have a large parking lot that can accommodate any parking with a play area for the kids inside of the gate. Hours of operation are do not go into the evening, so should not disturb the local residents.
Can you state what the hours are?
I think Kim stated the hours last week. I think are 6 to 6, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yes, that's the hours.
Is that 7 days a week? Or Monday through Friday?
Yeah, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week.
Kim, since we have you, can you please chime in and tell us about your daycare operations that you wish to perform here?
So, like I said, it's Monday through Friday, 6 A to 6 P. Serving kids from 6 months to 12 years of age. We'll be providing tutoring, providing education for the kids, and a safe environment.
And
All right,
the
the second.
Kim part of Kim's choosing this property and this building was it seemed like a very commercial building for her purposes. The second floor is a wide open sort of area, to be great for school age and preschool kids. The infants and toddlers be on the first floor, access directly outside. So the building is sort of couldn't really be used for residential. We don't suspect it can be converted very easily from a hardship standpoint.
Okay. We'll turn to you next, Mr. Leach. Do you have comments?
I really didn't have a comment. I don't know the entrepreneur. This is in our service area, and we have been surveying this area. I do have a note of it in my records, but I more or less was being saying I would be involved just in case, and also to let her know that we have resources here for her through the city of Cleveland, the SES program.
All right, thank you for those comments. Any questions from the board?
Madam Chair, I believe when we last heard this case, there were different numbers on the site plan of total number of children served. I think we heard 30, but then there was another room marked with some additional numbers. So just for the record, I'm hoping the appellant will state the total number of children they hope to serve through this project.
Okay, Kim, can you please chime in here?
Well, for our drawings with the architect, we have 47. But like I said, when the county come in to do to do their measurements, it may change. So it's 47 as of now. But like I said, once the you guys come in, it can change.
All right, any other questions from the board?
So again, I think this site plan says 47, but for your business plan, this is to Kim, do you have a cap on the number of children that you're hoping to serve based off of the number of employees you have, and, you know, the feasibility of your operations?
So yes, we do have a cap. Hopefully it will be 47. We go by ODJFS rules and regulations, which is 5 infants to 1 adult, 7 toddlers to 1 adult, 12 preschoolers to 1 adult, and 18 school agers to 1 adult. So we go on the ODJFS rules and regulation. We don't go on our own regulations.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board?
Madam Chair, I did have a question. We covered a lot of this when we first heard the case. I appreciate Ms. Holzer clarifying the number of children that could potentially be accommodated in the building. My question was to the parking lot, and if there will be directional arrows for the vehicles to come in and do drop off and then exit, and also if there's going to be a gating system to secure the children in if they're going to be playing outside, or a separate fenced in area. I think that covers my questions that we didn't have last time.
Yeah, the site plan, we're showing a play area just outside of the rear door, which will be gated for the kids. We can accommodate arrows so that the traffic for dropping off kids can run more smoothly. Definitely.
Great. I think that would be a super idea. Just a little added measure of safety there. If there are no further questions, Madam Chair, I'll move ahead with the motion, since we're rehearing this, because there was basically the only question was the capacity of children for the building when we
Okay.
first heard the case.
We'll get a word from
So-
city planning first, just one moment.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. My name is Xavier Bay again, representing City Planning. We're in agreement of the proposed variances. You know, it's a corner lot, so we don't see too much of an issue with the circulation of traffic here. I think it's a great note that Board Member Faith has mentioned incorporating some type of directional lining on the parking lot would help with the flow of traffic. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bay. Ms. Faith, you want to go ahead with your motion?
Yep, thanks. Hearing testimony that we've had today and clarification of points that were open for discussion. So we had to rehear the case. I move that we approve calendar number 25-066.
All right, thank you, Ms. Faith. Is there a second?
This is
Board
Board
Member
Member.
Go
No,
ahead.
please. Board Member Madison, second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Ms. Roca?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 25-066 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday. We'll send the appellant a letter, but she can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much, Board.
You're very welcome. Good luck with your project. All right, we're going to move
Thank you.
now to old business. We have up for ratification number 3, 5, 6, 7, and 14. Any objections?
No objection.
No objection.
No
No
objection.
objection.
All right, those are all ratified without objection. And any upcoming absences or conflicts to be reported by the board?
We're not in session Memorial Day, right? That's correct. Okay, so nothing to report.
All right, sounds like we're good there. Miss Faith, were you gonna report in absence?
I may be absent on the 2nd.
A second. Okay, that
I'll
is
confirm
noted.
later.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, it is now 11:25 and we are adjourned.
Thank you.